It worked the first time this time. Holy cow.
Holy.
As we normally do, we'll wait and see if
It
anybody comes
never
in.
works the
No, I
first
just
time.
meant if anybody's going to come in.
I know, but it never works the first time.
Steam. God, what kind of loser plays on Steam?
Me and you.
Everything I play is on Steam.
I know.
Hey, that's not the video. That's last. That might be 2 weeks ago, actually.
Huh?
The glasses? That's
It's just the one that pops up and I click on our thing.
hey, Steven. Hey, look, we got another subscriber. I feel like the lives are really helping us out in that aspect.
Too. We were
Good
stuck for
times.
so long.
Good times.
We were
Oh,
stuck for so long.
make sure my volume's down so I don't have to listen to myself speak again. Turn all
Yeah,
the
it's weird.
volumes off. Right.
Mm, 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 mm,
Let's just, I'm going to try, because at the end, it gives me the option to bring up YouTube Studio so I can um, edit the video. And I would like to be able to cut out all of this first part until we start watching
Why?
and then post it up as a video.
Okay.
But every time I click the YouTube Studio, it just sits and loads and just never brings it up.
Weird.
I don't know.
YouTube's weird.
Yeah, it is very weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's here yet. I don't think so. I did put it out. Trying to remember where. I don't think I put it on Facebook.
Oh. Should probably put it out everywhere.
I think so too, but I just didn't. Yeah, I'll do it real quick. I'm waiting for the point where like we just don't have to anymore.
That'd be fun.
It'd be real fun. Be nice.
What's going on?
What do you mean?
Mm,
It's in the same spot it always is.
I don't. I feel weird in my spot today.
That's because you just woke up.
He did. I took a nap.
I did not.
I did. I took a nap.
Um,
Didn't sleep very good.
I didn't either, but I worked out instead.
I know.
YouTube for a week of Megan's choice of videos. Because if I don't say videos, it sounds weird.
It's like Shark Week. Hello. Hello, Silva.
It is so much like Shark Week.
Oh my God.
It couldn't be more fitting.
Mm.
Couldn't.
Hey.
Why was that your choice of words?
Cause that's what you said last week.
I must have had like a premonition of what was coming. Welcome, Paranormal Shark Week.
Oh, Silver, your uncle is killing me today. Every day.
I am, dude, I'm struggling right now. My arms, they don't hurt. I want to say they hurt. It's because that's what I'm used to saying. I feel like I have jello noodles for arms. It was 97 degrees. I spent an hour in 97 degrees stuffy garage lifting weights.
Yeah,
Oh my God, it was gross.
that's rough.
It sucks. And now I'm like, I don't know if it's because I'm old, but I can't like cool down now. It happens every time. It takes me forever. So like,
It's really cold down here.
not to me. I'm really warm right now.
Yeah. I'm freezing.
Maybe I'm about to stroke out or something. I don't know.
Well, you can tell. I also just woke up from a nap, so that might have something to do with it.
You can tell what? That Megan's off today?
No, that you're bugging me.
That it's Shark Week?
Oh my God.
I like to think,
Oh,
I like to think I bug you every day.
you do bug me every day, but I bug you every day.
But you know
And
what?
that's just how this works.
You stay married to me, so that's on you.
You stay married to me.
Where else am I going to go?
Where else am I gonna go? I don't want to go anywhere
You're
else.
way prettier than me. You have way more options than I'll ever have.
I don't want those options.
Let's not have a stroke. I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try my best.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe we'll do tomorrow. Let me know when
Put
it's
it off for a day every day.
let me know when it's good for everybody else. No, no strokes. I mean, I lived in Florida forever. It's just for 2 years we've been living here, and I've been a fat lazy blob. eating ice cream and pizza, not taking care
Mm,
of myself.
yummy.
And
Or how about
my stomach
how
is
about never, she says.
my stomach's pretty messed up from the pizza last night, if I'm being honest.
Well, how's gonna do that for dinner tonight and have
Go for it,
leftovers?
have it. Knock yourself out, little lady.
Well, we could do linguiça and eggs. We
How
have
about
the
you can
stuff
just
for
eat
that.
the pizza and I will eat something else?
But linguiça and eggs sounds good.
Yes, and it would sound good tomorrow when there's no leftover pizza.
Okay.
I should have never introduced you to linguiça.
That's so good.
I love linguiça,
That's so good.
but your Florida butt has never had it until I brought it to you.
I know.
I wish I could get some Gaspers though.
What's that?
It's a brand. It's basically like a Walmart brand, but we just don't have it here.
Mm,
Gaspers is like um I'm not it's not like super high quality linguiça or chorizo or anything, but it's like the high level bottom stuff.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. We're thrifty. I know you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Speaking of thrifty, when them kids go back to school, we got to go back out.
Oh my God, I know. We should go drop those chairs off.
We could do that whenever.
They're just chilling in the garage.
You made us put them in there,
I know.
and then you left them in there.
I know.
It's on you.
Nobody came and picked them up. I put them on the free thing.
They were outside for a day and a half,
It
and then we moved them.
rained.
Yes, they did, and then you just left them there. I was actually kind of happy that we kept them for a while because I was like, well, what if something happens?
Yeah. With
Because
our
there,
new chairs.
well, because there was a problem with your chair. I mean, it
Hmm.
was, don't get me wrong, it turned out to be something stupid, but, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm glad we still have those
Hmm.
because if they have to take her chair or her chair doesn't work, we can move it and bring in the old one for a couple days.
Yeah. Hi, Ben.
We might have to call them back up. Mine's starting to make a lot of clicky noises. It's
Is it
making
still
more than
doing that?
before. Yeah, but it's starting
Oh.
to be more than before. What's up, Ben? You can't say hey Boost Crew. You're part of the Boost Crew, my man. And hey, I just wanted to say I really appreciated that reel you sent me on Instagram. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It was a happy
Oh,
Father's Day thing.
oh,
It was
that's
really nice.
cute.
Kind of made my day.
Well, I don't know if you're a father, Ben, but if you are,
I don't
happy
think he
Father's
is. I'm
Day.
not sure. He could be. Don't quote me on
Well,
that,
he's
but I don't
got
know
a
if he
dad.
is. Yeah, I would think so.
If you're not a dad, you got a dad
I I would think
somewhere.
all of us have dads if we're sitting here. Some maybe better than others. I don't know, but we all have one.
I heard somebody say happy sperm donor day. I was like, yo, that's rough.
Was it a girl?
Yep.
Of course it was.
I was like, bro,
It's always a woman
what are we
on
doing?
Father's Day who does that.
And then there's a girl who constantly just says, well, my baby daddy.
Well, let me guess. I'm gonna guess. I'm just gonna guess. She was female
Uh-huh.
in her early to mid 20s.
No.
Older?
Hmm.
That's heresy. That's ridiculous. You should be stoned for that.
Yeah.
How old are we talking? 30s?
Yep.
That's terrible. Does she have her own kids?
Yep.
Even worse.
Mm. Same person who says baby daddy, too.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like
If I'm
that.
like, he has a name. Well, he's not my husband
It doesn't
anymore.
matter.
Okay,
It doesn't matter.
cool.
You don't have to like him, and he doesn't have to like you, but there should be a level of at least, unless he did
Yeah,
something
ew
horrible,
is right.
unless he did something horrible to her or something.
No, she still lives with him. Yeah, I know.
That's super shitty.
It is wild.
I don't
I
like
don't know.
that. I'm sure I'm referred to as a baby daddy elsewhere.
You absolutely are not. I despise that phrase.
I don't mean by you.
Oh, well,
I mean,
yeah.
duh. But we are going down the rabbit hole of Megan picks this week.
I just randomly picked.
Yeah,
I just,
well, I picked something different than we've done because it's fun.
I'm excited.
It's 4 creepy unsolved disappearances, so I'm
I am
hoping.
so excited for this. I
Yeah,
picked a couple like not paranormal ones, but they were labeled like creepy and, unsettling or stuff like
yeah.
that. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping it kind of,
This video says that this video covers the unsolved disappearance of 4 individuals. To date, there is no explanation as to what might have happened to them. And these are the cases of is there an L in there? Jason Jokowski, Thomas Messick, and Fred Drum, and Carl Robert Dish.
and was it DISCH?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
imagining you. That's
Well,
Dish.
the second two names are together. So I wonder if it's like a double
It's probably
disappearance.
2 people who disappeared together. I would imagine.
Weird.
Probably like a hiking thing.
Yeah, it inspired me when we watched that, we started watching what are those, like, creepy dark corners of the
Oh,
internet videos?
Nick Crowley.
Yes,
I
and
love his videos.
we started watching those, and it was,
Well, it's not like we just started watching them. We've been watching them
I
for
know,
years. We just stopped watching for a long time.
but a lot of these kind of videos come up in his,
Yeah,
and it's just, like, weird
if you guys
disappearances.
are into like weird, creepy, mysterious internet rabbit hole, just wacky stuff, check out Nick Crowley if you haven't already. I mean, he's pretty popular.
Yeah,
But if you haven't,
so good.
and if you haven't heard of him, it's Nick Crowley, just like Aleister Crowley. But man, his and the editing is
Perfect.
it's like next level.
It's so good.
It's next level because they always do this thing where they play like these super creepy, like we'll say 60s to 80s, like I don't know,
Cartoons,
cartoons,
ads,
commercials,
like, it's
but
so
but
weird.
it's done in such a weird way, and they put all these weird effects on them so they feel really old and ominous.
It's so
And that's just like
creepy.
the cutscene type stuff.
Yeah,
It's so weird, but it's so
go
well
check it
done.
out,
We're
it's
probably
worth
gonna
it.
watch it after this.
It's so good.
But I was promised a game night tonight because somebody took a nap, so I'm holding you to that.
I did take a nap.
I'm holding you to that.
I did take a nap.
Because every time we try to do this, I get an hour worth of gaming and that's it, and then you're asleep. And
I might fall asleep. However,
we're not doing that tonight. You're staying up. You're in for the long haul.
well, I figured I would have like a energy drinky Mio thing
You
a
should have
little
stopped and
later.
got like an actual energy drink. I drink these because they're lighter than I won't drink real energy
I know,
drinks
but I'm
anymore.
trying not to.
Yeah, they killed my cousin, so
Yeah.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah. Trying not to. I haven't in quite a while. So I'll just stick with the Mio and not all the
It's all
weird
it's
added
yeah,
ingredients
it's
that
all the
are,
weird shit they put in it.
yeah.
That's
Are
the
they great?
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they taste
Love energy
wonderful.
drinks.
I lived off them for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in the past for me now.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it though.
Mm-mm.
Why?
I don't know. Just feels weird.
Because I won't.
Not because you won't. Just the premise behind why. And I get it.
Yeah.
They're not great for you.
No,
So,
they're really bad for you, actually.
trying to make better choices in my life now that I'm getting old.
I think there are some out there that are better for you
Yeah,
than others.
for sure.
Just gotta find them.
You just gotta sift through the hundreds that are out there that aren't.
Yeah, it's just all the real popular ones.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Bang, Rockstar,
Yes, I would like.
Red Bull.
Yeah, yeah,
I
those
don't know
two.
about like rain and stuff like that. I would assume that it's all the same
Yes,
pretty much.
they're all like
Yeah.
that. All those ones that you see that everybody's drinking, they're all. That's why everybody drinks them because they jack you up.
What are the ones they came out with recently? It was like it was like the prissy girl ones. Started with a Z.
Zima.
No, it was like it's not Zoe, but that's what keeps popping in
Shout
my
out to
head.
the legends that are old enough to remember drinking Zima.
Zima.
Yeah.
I remember Surge.
You don't,
Mm.
oh my God, you don't know what Zima is?
What's Zima?
Oh my God, she's too young for you, bro.
Zima.
Are you fucking kidding me?
What? Watch your mouth.
No, because I'm decided that if I can get the YouTube studio to work, the only people that are going to hear me say fuck, shit, damn, all that stuff are going to be in the beginning of these lives because those are the G's. Those are the people. They're going to get the real me. Zima was an alcoholic drink. It was like a wine cooler back in like the 90s.
I
Never
don't know.
mind. Now that I said that out loud, I
Yeah.
realize why you wouldn't know that.
Uh-huh.
It was popular when I was a teenager.
Yeah, because I was like,
Shh,
mm-hmm.
stop it.
I was not a teenager.
I was. And I was drinking not
Teenager in the
I,
late 90s.
I was not drinking Zima though. I was drinking Boone's Farm
Oh,
like a
love
G.
Boone's Farm.
I- yeah, I know. Okay, you're well, you're my niece. I should hope so. I had to run down the highway with you under my arm as the car was on fire. And if you don't know that story, ask your mom. I'm sure she'll be really happy I told you that.
Oh my God. Now I'm curious. Silver, do you know that story?
Her and her brother, I had them both under my arms. She was a baby, like a baby, I believe. I think she was really young.
Oh my God. Tell me. Do you know?
Do you know that story?
If you don't want to say that on here, you can text me. It's okay.
Oh, I'm just to say yes, I know the story. I know your mom knows the story. It was a quite an area of contention. I've told her. Okay, yeah, true story though. Turns out it was like something in the wheel well, like grease or something, that ended up catching on fire while we were driving down the highway.
Jeez.
It was crazy. I didn't know what to do, so I just jumped out, grabbed the kids, and ran away from the car because I didn't know if it was going to blow up or not.
Right.
It
Oh, that's
was
scary.
the front passenger side, and I was worried like something else was going to catch on fire, and there were two little kids in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, okay, well, I guess we should probably get this thing a rolling.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it. So excited.
let's start this thing off, and I'm going to ask you a question.
Me?
Yep.
Okay.
What does today's video and the unrest in the world of politics have in common?
Oh, God. I don't know. What?
Absolutely nothing, except that this might take your mind off of it for a little bit if you're tired of hearing about it.
Mm.
I'm tired of hearing about it.
I've snoozed quite a few people on Facebook for a while.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know how it is out there on the East Coast, but out here it is like,
It was wild.
dude,
I can't.
somebody was, I think, killed up in Salt Lake.
So, yeah, somebody asked me, "Hey, did you hear about the shooting?" And then
Yeah, it was. I think it was in Salt
that
Lake.
was all. They like had to walk away, and I never heard anything else about it. So I was like, "Oh, it's getting crazy."
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, no matter what your political stance on this is, you guys don't need to be shooting each other.
No,
Look,
let's keep it civil,
I'm
please.
gonna be honest. I agree with a lot of stuff from the right. I agree with a lot of stuff from the left. I like neither one of them, and I can form my own opinions out of the things that I like.
Hmm.
And none of it is worth hurting somebody else over. We are all Americans, and we are all equal to our own opinion, and you shouldn't have to fear telling somebody what your opinion is.
Hmm.
But then again, I honestly feel like you shouldn't be allowed to tell everybody your political opinions. Go vote it out quietly
Yeah, keep it to yourself,
and
please.
leave us alone about it.
Yeah, Silver. I'm
Okay.
not into politics either. It makes me feel like I'm going to break out into hives.
I'm
I hate
not
it.
all right. I'm not into politics. I do try to stay up on them
I do
because
not.
I want to know what's going on in the world, but I'm not into politics. I just like to know what's happening.
I do not at all.
I do.
I don't want any part of it.
Oh, ginseng tea or green tea. I
Oh,
actually love green tea,
I. Mm,
but I only like fake ass green tea. I like the Lipton green tea. It's so good.
the Lipton green tea is really
It's
good.
so good. Your parents used to always have it, and I'd always go over there and drink it.
I know it
It's
is
so
really good.
good. Maybe we should buy some of that.
They had the
Actually,
light version, like the diet
I
version.
like it.
I know.
It was really good.
That's usually we don't drink diet anything.
No, I hate diet, especially well soda. Like I hate diet soda, and the only soda that I really drink is Sprite.
Hmm.
I don't drink a ton of soda.
Diet Sprite.
Eh,
Ugh.
that sounds
It just has that like
horrible.
aspartame taste, and it's gross.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Mm-mm.
I do not like it, but I do love me some Sprite.
I've never had ginseng tea. Maybe
Hey, look, I just remember
add to my tea shelf here.
being during the days of like, Allen Iverson and all them guys peddling Sprite, and I wanted to be one of them. But I was a 5'6" white guy. I was never going to be one of them. But I do still do like to play me some basketball.
Yeah, we should take the kids.
I want to go
Go
play
play
that.
basketball.
Today
Maybe
or tomorrow. We can do it tomorrow. I
tomorrow.
want to go. Tomorrow's my day off of working out, so
Yay. Yeah,
that'd be a
we'll
good
go play
idea.
basketball tomorrow.
We're playing basketball. They're
We're playing
playing
basketball.
basketball. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get into this
Show your
video.
age, why don't you?
So, four creepy unsolved disappearances. And if you guys enjoy this type of content, let us know and we'll watch some more of it because we enjoy it.
I am so excited.
All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Every year, over 500,000 people are reported missing in the United States alone.
That's a lot.
In many of
I'm
these
not shocked.
cases, there is often at least some indication as to where the person may have gone, giving authorities a trail to follow.
Most of it's trafficking.
There are those cases, however, where an individual simply vanishes without a trace, in circumstances so bizarre that it is impossible to piece together what happened to them. These are the cases of the people who disappeared off the face of the earth.
Better safe than sorry. My head is always on a swivel.
It's because we live in Florida.
That's true.
Jason Jolkowski.
Looks like we've told people Liberty Mutual
Oh yeah, I never
customizes your
added
car
the
insurance so you only
blocker
pay
this
for what
weekend.
you need.
I keep forgetting. It's not something I've ever
The
done
vast
before. We
majority
were
of
gonna
kids.
schedule a
disappearances
send
happen in
text to you.
secluded areas
Yeah,
where there
probably a
are
good
no
idea.
witnesses or security cameras which could give authorities a lead. Without these, it's hard for investigators to put together an accurate timeline of events that would result in the missing person's discovery. However, while rare, it's not impossible for someone to disappear in a busy and populated area. This
It's
is
funny because
exactly
we moved from an area where you did have to worry about being, snatched up in traffic to now for the first time, we have cameras outside of our house
Hmm.
and we want to get a second one
Yep.
just to see whose dog keeps shitting in the grass.
Yep.
It's been quite a change.
Yeah.
It's been quite a change.
Yep.
what
Now we're
would
like, what
happen to
kids are playing with our
19-year-old
bushes out
Jason
front?
Jolkowski.
That sounds super wrong.
Shh.
That sounded super wrong.
Don't.
No, if I had to say anything about the kids, we have this group of little girls that goes out on the side of the buildings
Oh
and they
God.
like throw rocks and kick balls up against the side of our house. And it literally sounds like somebody sledgehammering through into our living room.
Yeah. Super fun.
I've had to yell at them quite a few times. Not so much for the ball, for the rocks.
Yeah. They kicked and broke one of our little tiki
Those,
torches,
but those
but they were
girls,
very apologetic, which are not like most of the kids around here.
those girls that kicked and broke the flower pot, they felt bad. They actually came and told me.
Mm-hmm.
This is a different group of little girls. When I went out there to yell at them, they all just tried to look down and look around like I wasn't even standing there. They tried to ignore me,
God.
like I wasn't even there. So, um, Mormons, this is only for you Mormons. We love you. You guys are amazing people,
Super
but
nice.
do better with your kids.
Watch your children.
Yeah, well, at least teach them. Teach them right from wrong or
Mhm.
something.
From Benson, Omaha, on June 13th, 2001. That morning, at around 10:15 a.m., Jason would get a call from his boss asking
Benson,
him to come
Omaha.
into work early, which was at a restaurant
Isn't
called
Omaha
Fazoli's.
already a
While
part
it wasn't
of
his shift,
Nebraska?
Jason couldn't refuse the extra money, so he told his boss he would be coming in. However, informed him that his car was at the repair shop, meaning he would have to walk the 4 miles from his house to Fazoli's. Because the restaurant was very busy, Jason's boss
Fazoli's?
told him he could arrange for one of his coworkers to come get him.
I've been to a
Jason instead
Fazoli's.
decided it would save time for all parties involved if he was just picked up from a halfway point rather than his house. They came to the agreement that Jason would meet his coworker in the parking lot of nearby Benson High Magnet School, where he graduated from only 2 years prior. The
You screwed
school
up
was
that beginning.
located just over half a mile away from Jason's residence, and the walk usually took him about 10 minutes, so this greatly reduced the distance he had to travel that day. After ending the call with his boss, Jason would quickly shower and get dressed before heading out the door. As he left the house, he noticed that the trash had already
That's your first mistake, right there.
What?
Never shower. People don't want to take you. Pro tip.
been picked up that
Be
morning,
stanky.
so he decided he would take the empty cans back into the garage. This would save his 13-year-old brother Michael some work, as it was usually his job to do so. At
Aw.
around 10:45 a.m., Jason's
Look at the
neighbor,
good ones that
Chester
get taken,
Link,
dude.
would report seeing him putting the trash cans
That's how I
back
know you're safe.
and then heading off towards the
Chester.
direction of Benson High. Little did Link know, he would be the last person to ever see Jason Jolkowski
That's nuts
alive.
roasting on an open fire.
At 11:15 that day, Jason's coworker was getting a bit distressed as he hadn't arrived yet, so she drove to a nearby gas station where she would use a payphone to call their boss and tell him about the situation. He told her to wait a bit longer just in case Jason showed up. However, he never did, and she returned to work at 11:30. Jason's boss then called his home phone around this time to find out what was going on, but it was
Phone's
his
not even
brother who
on.
picked up on the other end. Jason's brother informed him that the last time he saw Jason, he was heading to work. It was at
I
this
called it
point
and go
that they
through.
discovered he was missing. Jason's parents were called at work and alerted about his disappearance shortly after.
Was Chester not related?
No, he was a neighbor who saw him
Okay.
dropping the
All
trash
right. I was about to say, because man, how are his parents so white?
on.
But Chester was definitely not. Well, he was like Spanish, Mexican. I think he was Mexican.
I don't know.
Or maybe Native American, because Nebraska's got a very
Those are his
large.
parents.
I understand. I just couldn't figure out why Chester looked so different from everybody else.
God.
I get it now.
He was the neighbor.
I don't know though, because I feel like
Old sweet neighbor Chester.
I look really white. I feel like I look pretty white.
Mm,
No? Be- Do I not look super white? Oh, I always thought I did. Maybe as I'm getting older, my Native American side's coming out.
mm-hmm.
But like my grandmother, I won't say what I want to say about her. Not a good person, but she was, and I mean on my mom's side. My
Yeah.
my
Oh, I
dad
know
my
exactly who you're talking
my
about.
dad's mom is
Amazing.
the most wonderful woman I've ever had in my life. But on my mom's side, her mom looked like she just crawled out of a teepee.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up, and my mom's starting to look like that now too.
Look, Silver agrees you don't look white.
What?
I told you.
Ben, I need a diverse opinion here. Do I not look I've always
Well, here
thought
come the brothers banding
I
together.
always thought that I looked super white.
What you got,
Whatever.
Ben?
But my point is like I don't even
All
know
you
where I
boys
was.
stick together.
It's how it is, man. It's not a dog.
What?
What? It's not a dog. It's the neighbor.
Nobody was talking about a dog.
I don't know what we're talking about. He's probably like, let's watch the episode.
Yeah, I know. He's like, shut up, guys.
All right, here we go. But just for you, Ben.
Police were immediately notified, but because Jason was a teenager, and it's not uncommon for teenagers to run away, they did not begin their
True that.
official investigation until over a week later.
Of
While they
course.
wouldn't look into Jason's disappearance for a considerable amount of time, his neighborhood was on high alert upon hearing the news. This makes it unlikely that a perpetrator could have come back and hidden evidence or done anything which would obstruct the case, as they would have been noticed. When police did start looking into the case, however, they would not find anything notable that wasn't already known. In the following weeks after Jason's sudden vanishing, ground searches, mounted searches, helicopters, and infrared technology were used to try and locate him. Hundreds of people were interviewed, and police talked to every house in the immediate area. They also looked into every aspect of his personal life, questioning his friends and going through his computer. Despite this, not a single clue was ever discovered, which could explain what might have happened to him. In every practical sense, it seemed Jason had simply vanished off the face of the earth during his short 7-block trail to Benson High.
Did they say what year this was? Did they happen to mention
A
that?
30
I don't.
Because a lot of these stories where people go missing, it's like they find their body years later. I just
Mhm.
watched a video the other day of a little girl who went missing in I think in Colorado in 1984. And nobody knew what happened to her. She just disappeared. And it was in 2018 they finally discovered this girl's body
Oh my God, that
uh,
gave me goosebumps.
because they were doing a construction dig. Like I forget what they were
Oh
building,
my God.
but they found the body, realized that she had died the night that she disappeared.
What?
It was 5 days before Christmas,
Ugh,
and her parents
those
were still
poor
her parents were
parents.
still alive and just waiting for an answer of like to what happened. And it turned out this was the craziest twist. It turned out that it was a guy who was a janitor at the church that she was at a school performance for, who was currently running for governor in Iowa,
What?
and now he's sitting in prison for life.
Good.
And there is so he never he
What?
won't admit to doing it, but there is so much evidence against him that it is crazy.
30 some years later.
Yep,
Wow.
thought he got away with it. His son ended up getting murdered. And at the funeral, they said he never cried until he approached the casket. And his wife overheard him say, "Oh God, is this because of what happened to that girl's name?" Or I think might have said, he might have even said, "Is this because of what I did or to
Right.
her
Or
or something?"
something along those
But
lines.
there
Yeah.
was a whole bunch of stuff like that. But the point I'm getting at is like, did they say when this was? Because there's still a possibility that over the years, I mean, bodies don't stay gone forever.
No.
Somebody will come across it eventually, like Susan Powell. Somebody's eventually going to
Yep.
find her body.
I sure hope so.
Oh God. Well, I mean,
That poor
it
woman.
doesn't make a difference anymore. It really doesn't.
That poor
Like,
family.
it would be beneficial for the family. Obviously, I don't want to be like, oh, there's no point in finding her body.
Right.
But it's really only beneficial for the family because everybody knows that Stephen Powell killed her and ditched her body. Like, that's the only reason he took himself and his other kids out, because
Oh
he
my
knew
God.
he was getting caught. But the thing is like eventually somebody is going to find this kid's body, and we're going to know what happened, or we'll get some kind of answers out of it, because
God, I hope so.
bodies never stay gone forever.
And he involved the kids. Like, oh my God.
Okay, but I was just talking about it in
I get
reference
it.
to this.
I'm sorry.
30-year
I hate that
veteran of
story.
Omaha PD
Okay,
told
let's talk about
Jason's
the
mother,
Watts family
Kelly,
then.
that in his
No.
whole career, this was the single most
We've already done
baffling
that on this
case
show.
he's ever encountered. In an investigation, it's
I do look
extremely
white.
rare to not find even a
I was
single
about to say
lead
thank you,
after
but I don't
someone
know
goes
why.
missing, especially in a busy community where said
God.
individual was well known by everyone. Not one person was ever suspected, and authorities never had a person of interest. Police, along with Jason's family and friends, had many questions regarding what happened to him. However, the most obvious one was, how could Jason have possibly gone missing during a 10-minute trip he's made hundreds of times before, while walking through a residential area in broad daylight without leaving a single shred of evidence behind, no less? To answer this question, the first thing police did was check Benson High School's security cameras, as this was Jason's intended destination that day, so it was only logical to see if he ever made it. He never did, and wasn't picked up on any camera in the vicinity, including the nearby middle school's surveillance cameras, which he would have had to walk in front of to get to Benson High. He also couldn't have been on Bedford Avenue, which was the main road he would have had to take to get to the school, as the area was simply too heavily trafficked for no one to have
So
seen
he had to
him.
have been snatched
This
up right by
suggested
the
to
house.
authorities
Super
that he
close,
must have
yeah.
disappeared somewhere rather close to his house. The
Had
first
to.
theory was that he was taken by someone in a vehicle shortly after departing. But who could have done this in such an impossibly short time span without causing a scene? Also, what would be the motivation for someone to randomly target Jason? His mother stated that Jason liked keeping to himself and had a very
It's the
small
same
circle
way
of
little
friends.
kids are targeted and they get picked up. Like, if you tell them what they need to hear to get them to come in the car quietly, they do. Like, they could be like, "Oh, your mom asked me to pick you up." Like, it works.
Yeah.
It's been used a million times for that reason.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to get him without a commotion, I mean, we can't just assume that somebody jumped out with a ski mask and a gun and forced him into the car.
Right.
It could have just been a lot of times they use like unassuming looking women
Yep.
they do it to other women all the time.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Ben said comments are super late. We were talking about the dog pooping in the yard.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
is the neighbor. We actually know who it is.
yeah,
We just want we
100%.
just want to catch them.
Yeah.
Um okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That makes way more sense
And
now. I
and
was like, what?
and I want to say thank you for agreeing with me. I do think I look super white. I do. And I feel like I shouldn't because a lot of my family doesn't.
A lot of your family doesn't.
I
Like at
so
all.
I feel like I got more of the Irish side.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I see certain telltales that it's coming. I do.
It's coming.
And it's like a certain wrinkling pattern that happens to like Native Americans,
Yes.
and it's happening. It's fine. I don't care. I'm getting old. It is what it is.
I just get more white.
Dude, you are so white.
I know. Bro, I come from the land of like the Vikings.
All right, cornbread, you ready?
Super white. Yes.
Let's
Snowflake is ready. Let's
let's
go.
go oatmeal.
There was absolutely no one on Earth who he had a problem with. Standing at 6'1" and weighing around 180 pounds, it's also unlikely someone would have targeted him for an opportunistic crime, as he would have been very difficult to subdue at his size. And even if someone had taken him, this still doesn't explain how they could have done so without being spotted. Jason's mother told investigators he had a very shy nature due to a learning disability that affected his language skills, so he would have never have gotten into a stranger's car willingly. This means someone would have had to force him into a vehicle, but this is just
Not
extremely unlikely.
necessarily though. If they know who he is, all right, where I'm going to assume that this person who took him knows something about him. And if you like, everybody has, it's the same thing that is around like when people are like, how do people join a cult? I would never. If they told you what you needed to hear, yes, you would. That's how
true.
it happens. And people always say they would have never been cooperative and gotten in that car. You don't know that.
Mm.
You don't know that. Um, you just don't. I don't like it when they say that because there is a possibility. There's always a possibility.
Yeah.
Likely, given the setting. He was literally in a residential community in broad daylight. There were many houses around and people out and about on their morning walks. If there had been a struggle, someone surely would have at least heard or seen something. This all
Look at those
points to
houses.
it being someone he knew, but this theory too is hard to
Yes.
accept in this circumstance. Because of his learning disability, Jason was rather introverted and socially awkward, according to his parents. Given this, he would have only gotten into a vehicle with a close friend, not just anybody he knew, especially considering his trip was only 10 minutes.
But what if he was previously befriended by one of these people? So it is somebody he thought he knew.
Hmm.
All his close friends and anybody with whom he was close enough to accept a ride from were all cleared as having an alibi, however. Also, if he was picked up, it's likely that it was early on during his trip, because if he was already close to the school, there would have been no point to accept the ride. Police contend that this is what happened as well, but if this is the case, it almost seems impossible that someone Jason knew who wanted to harm him happened to be driving by at the exact same time he would be leaving, unless it was premeditated and they knew where he would be at that moment. The problem with this is, Jason was not even supposed to go into work that morning, so even if someone knew his schedule and was planning on hurting him, there is no way they could have possibly known he'd be making an impromptu
They're
trip at
making
that.
a lot of statements in a story that is basically based all around the unknown, and that you can't say you can't be sure about anything
Right.
until like you get more about this. I don't like it when people tell stories like this because to say he would have never, this couldn't have happened. You don't.
He had to have known the
How do
person.
you know that?
Right.
How do you know that just because somebody was said that? Dude, most people thought I was this good, quiet kid and I was out ruining my life. You don't really know.
Hmm.
You never really know. So I wish they would stop saying that. They're just trying to make a lot of certainties in a very uncertain situation.
Right.
I hate it.
The time. The only people who knew about it were Jason's boss at Fazoli's and the coworker who was due to pick him up, but they were both cleared by police as having nothing to do with the incident. Some suggest that Jason may have taken a detour in a vehicle with somebody he knew, and wasn't even on his intended path that day, which is why no evidence was found along it. But those close to him noted that Jason was extremely responsible and punctual. He would never show up late to work, especially considering he had someone waiting on him. They contend that if he did accept a ride, it would have only been to the school and nowhere else, lending further credence to the theory that he vanished somewhere along his usual path that day. Others speculate that there may not have been a car at all, and instead, Jason was lured into a nearby house by a neighbor under the guise of needing assistance. After all, Jason was known for having a kind heart in his community and was very empathetic about the struggles of others. Some believe that a predator in the area might have taken advantage of his kindness to hurt him. While plausible, this theory too is unlikely, because Jason only had 15 minutes to make it to the school. Despite
What?
his kind nature, Jason
How
was
is that
very
unlikely?
punctual, so he probably wouldn't have stopped to help a neighbor if he was pressed for time and someone was waiting on him, as his coworker was. It's
Just give us
also
the facts
extremely
and not your
uncommon for a
opinions.
predator to be so brazen. Taking someone in broad daylight while in your own community is possibly the most risky crime one can commit. It's very unlikely for even a known offender to subject themselves to this sort of risk, and there was no one in the area who stuck out to Omaha PD as being capable of such a crime. One final theory proposed was that he may not have been taken at all, and instead disappeared by choice. A Reddit user by the name of DJG123, who worked with Jason at a radio station which was a part of his broadcasting program at Iowa Western Community College, made a post dispelling this theory, however. When asked if it was normal for someone to just vanish from this area of Benson in the morning, and if she thinks Jason went missing out of his own free will, DJG123 replied the following: "Yeah, it was incredibly rare that he would just vanish. Many people think that he might have known his abductors. Jason wasn't dumb, and he wouldn't just get into a car with a stranger. However, they never found any signs of a struggle in the neighborhood, and nobody heard a disturbance. So it would have to be either an instant knockout abduction so he couldn't fight back, or he went with someone he knew. But he was very responsible and wouldn't have skipped work, so he would have only gone with them for a ride to the school, since he had a ride waiting there for him. By the way, he was horrible at giving directions, so he was meeting the coworker at Benson High School because it was easier. No, not 1 ounce of me thinks he disappeared by choice. Nope, no way."
Everybody can believe what they want to believe,
Right.
but it doesn't make it fact.
went on to talk about how Jason was starting a new job the week following his disappearance at a company called Citel Corp as a service representative, for which he was very excited. He was also passionate about his radio broadcasting career, and he had a promising future in the industry. There was just no reason for Jason to leave of his own accord, leading many in the community, especially those who knew him, to fear that whatever happened to Jason, it was something foul. But what really did happen to Jason Jolkowski
Do
on
we
that
know?
fateful day? The complete lack of evidence or witnesses
No.
leaves us only with mere speculation. But in a case such as this, it's almost impossible to even speculate what might have happened. Some people are of the opinion that Jason might have been involved with something investigators didn't know about, and that's why there were simply no leads. Others
This is
think
what I'm saying. How many teenagers have you known, like, especially when you were a teenager, that whose parents thought they were just like these really wonderful, good kids, but then would be out doing hard drugs or something?
Right, or just out partying and lying
But
and sneaking
just
out.
doing stuff that nobody my kid would never do that,
Right.
and they're out there doing it. He's no different. Just because he has a learning disability, I mean, he's still a normal guy.
Yeah.
So, to say that is because parents always think they know their kids through and through, and you just don't. They're their own little person.
Mhm.
They
They're
have
gonna make choices. They're gonna do
yeah,
things that you would think they would never do.
they're
Kids test the boundaries, man.
they're
That's what
gonna
they
do
do.
things that you never thought they were gonna do
Mhm.
because they hide that from you.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So I don't know. I just don't like that they keep saying he would never, he would never. This had to have happened this way. No, no. I mean, there's probably lots of stuff that nobody knows about him except
There's
for
a
some of his
million
closest friends.
possibilities of what could have happened. A million.
What if they had some like super smoking hot lady that was helping them, and she was like, "Hey, come on in," and he was like, "Yeah, yeah,"
Okay.
and it led him, to his death or something. But
Right.
still, they do stuff like that. It
Mhm.
happens. If you came outside and was like, "Hey, come in here," I'd probably be dead. I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm coming in."
Whatever happened to Jason must have been so out of the ordinary that no one could possibly have imagined it. Whatever the case may be, the vanishing of Jason Jolkowski showed investigators in the world that sometimes even your own community could be dangerous.
Oh yeah, you don't know your neighbors.
No.
Life's better when your
I know
stuff
my
is
neighbors. They suck.
protected under our roof.
They let their dog poop in our yard.
I'm talking about the
Predator
others.
Killer of
Oh,
Killers is
God.
the best
They're
reviewed film of the
so loud.
franchise.
The music lovers?
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I love music too. I just have respect for my neighbors.
Mm. It's all right. We have battles.
That's right. Mine's louder.
Mhm.
Thomas Messick.
On November 15th,
Adirondacks?
2015,
Yeah.
82-year-old
Mountains.
Thomas Messick Sr. was on his annual deer hunting trip just south of Brant Lake in Horicon, New York. Although he was doing something that was so familiar to him, this day was different, as it would be the day he would vanish without a trace, never to be seen again.
It's an old
Early
man,
that
dude.
Sunday, Thomas was with a group of 7, which consisted of
I'm gonna say before the story even takes off, I bet it's a hunting accident and somebody hit his body because they were like, "I don't want to go to jail for this,"
Or something medical.
or something medical.
And
But
he
he has
just
other people with him.
kind of, yeah, but what if he like took off on his own or
Well, I don't think he would do that.
I don't know.
I mean, it's possible, but most people who go on like hunting trips in a group, you stay in that group. So stuff like that doesn't happen.
I've never done it. I want to.
But I'll bet, in my opinion, it was somebody probably accidentally shot him and was like, "No,
I
no,
miss our bows.
we're not going to get in trouble." Yeah, I mean, let's get some more.
friends as well as
We
family
have places to go
members.
shoot
They
'em
were
now.
hunting near a small body of water called Lily Pond. They were employing a common trapping tactic referred to as a deer drive, where a party of hunters splits up into 2 groups, one being referred to as drivers, who are responsible for chasing the prey towards the second group, referred to as watchers, who lay waiting for an easy ambush. Thomas Messick, along with 3 older members of the group, were the watchers, and they were
See, you don't
arranged
go
in a
alone.
line formation less than 100 yards apart. That day, the younger members of the group, who were the drivers, noted an eerie silence in the forest, almost like there was no wildlife at all, as they were inching closer to the area where Thomas should have been waiting at his post. When they arrived, however, they would be shocked to discover that he was nowhere to be found. Confused, they searched the immediate area, but could not locate any sign.
I've used that B-roll in a video. I've seen so many videos lately where I'm like, I've used that clip.
Yeah.
I've used that clip.
They said
I've used that
100
clip.
yards apart. I mean, it's literally a football field.
That's
It's not
that's not that far.
far.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not
So
that far.
this is just what they said.
Mm.
I mean, if you think you're going to get in trouble for accidentally shooting somebody, you wouldn't be like, you would. He just disappeared.
Of Thomas. To truly understand why this sudden disappearance came as such a shock to his group, we must know a few things about Thomas Messick first. He served in the U.S. Army as a paratrooper with the prestigious
Wow.
82nd Airborne Division and was an expert hunter as well as woodsman who had been honing his skills for
And he didn't
decades.
just
He
disappear
also
into the
taught
woods,
hunter and
lost.
survival training for many years. This level of expertise is really what makes his disappearance stand out, as it's one thing when an untrained person goes missing deep in the wilderness. However, when it's a survival expert with decades of experience who vanishes while in close proximity to his
Like
group,
50 years.
possibilities become far more unsettling. Shortly after his disappearance, the group called forest rangers and searched from 4:30 p.m. until it got dark around 7, at which point half the group stayed to fire their rifles and honk their car horns to attract Thomas to the area, while the rest left the scene and reported him missing to family. The day following, an extensive search for Thomas began, with 13 trained rescue professionals from the Park Service that would be called in to look for him. This was the beginning of the huge effort to find Thomas, lasting several months and involving more than 300 professionals and volunteers on some days, assisted by dogs, divers, and helicopters. More than 15 agencies were involved in his search, one of which being the
Use that clip.
FBI's Critical Incident Response
Part of-
Group, among many other highly specialized organizations. They never managed to find any evidence which could explain what happened to Thomas, however, including no sign of his rifle.
That's what I'm saying. So if he had a medical emergency and he hit the ground, this is area that they all know.
Mhm.
So they would have definitely found his body. But if you know the area and you accidentally have an accident happens and you need to get rid of a body, you know the area.
Hmm.
You know where to bring one so that nobody finds it.
It's crazy though, because they have such extensive searches going on. You'd think somebody would see something.
Dude, do you know how big the woods up in like
I mean, I get it. It's a lot.
northern New York and places like
It's a
that
lot.
are? You're up near Canada.
Hmm.
It is just endless. It would take thousands of people, thousands and thousands of hours to even comb through all of it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She's good looking. I get it. Um, so like even if he dropped dead, he'd be found. Because you're in a common area.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. With all that training experience, like the travel experience too.
I think somebody
Like there's no way he just wandered off and got
either
lost.
he had a medical accident
Mhm.
and somebody was afraid he was going to get killed. Maybe his gun went off, he shot himself, or maybe one of his friends accidentally shot him, and everybody was worried about getting in trouble, so they just made the body disappear.
Hmm.
There's only so much you can check. You'd have to do a lot of searching.
Or walkie-talkies
But like I said
used
earlier,
to
bodies don't stay
communicate
gone
with the other
forever.
hunters
No.
in the forest. All in all, more than 4 square miles were covered, with a larger area being searched by air with helicopters. Thomas Messick's disappearance is extremely perplexing, considering just how extensive the search for him was. And despite this, not a single shred of evidence was ever
Right? What if they just
discovered.
drove his body out
expertise in forest survival
One
and
away from-
hunting
and
adds
then
another
they
degree
were
of
20
searching.
miles in the
mystery
other
to this
direction.
case as well, because it's highly unlikely someone with his level of training would have gotten lost or disorientated. The formal search for Thomas Messick ended on November 26, 2015. However, periodic searches were conducted over the
10 years
following
ago.
years
Hi,
using
Tina.
cadaver
Tina.
dogs. They never picked up a scent, and to this day, no evidence has been recovered from the area, as if Thomas simply vanished off the face of the earth. But what could have happened to Thomas Messick?
So pretty.
To answer this question, many point to his walkie-talkie as being a crucial clue. He was on the same radio channel as the other members of his group, was well within range of them, and knew how to operate it. If so, why not use it if he was in any sort of distress? Had he suffered some medical issue, injured himself, gotten lost, or simply wanted to leave his post momentarily, he could have easily informed his group. The fact that they never heard a word from him suggests that whatever happened to Thomas may have caught him by surprise.
See, I'm not saying
Laundry
it's
can
a
be
murder
really
thing by.
ugh, especially if it sits in the
I'm
wash.
just saying it could have been an accidental thing.
Mm.
Because if
The
your friends kill you,
FBI
that's pretty
appearing on the
shitty.
scene was also peculiar in this case. Their investigation was questionable from the start, as the FBI does not usually handle missing persons cases unless a child is involved. A few days into the search, they informed Thomas's wife, Beverly Messick, that, quote, something isn't right with the case, but they don't know what. Those present at the investigation noted, however, that the FBI was being very secretive and seemingly weren't following regular protocol. This sparked rumors that the FBI may have had a hidden agenda they weren't revealing, and that the Thomas Messick case was a part of a larger investigation they were conducting.
Maybe Thomas knew
There are
something.
many cases of people going missing under bizarre circumstances in national parks,
was in the
and some
military.
believe the FBI may have a special interest in these instances. 9 days after Thomas Messick's disappearance, a 68-year-old city councilman by the name of Fred Drum would also vanish under similar mysterious circumstances, nearly 40 miles away in Schuylerville, New York. He lived on a rural farm with his wife and was also an avid outdoorsman like Thomas. Early in the morning of November 24, 2015, Fred's wife attended a banquet and would return home later in the afternoon. When she did, Fred was gone. His car was still parked at the house, suggesting he couldn't have gone anywhere far, but there was still no sign of him. There was nothing stolen and no indication of a break-in either. He also didn't take anything with him, which suggests he left the house in a hurry, or something lured him out and he had no time to grab anything. Following his disappearance, a huge search ensued, using canines, helicopters, and even some of the rescue teams that were involved in the search for Thomas Messick. Despite this, no evidence was ever discovered, and the eventual outcome was the same.
Wow, that's too coincidental just to be a
Although we may
coincidence.
never know for sure if the two cases are related, many pointed out the odd similarities between them. Both men were elderly as well as experienced in the outdoors, and they both disappeared under mysterious circumstances.
Were they both in the military?
Locations where they were meant to stay put. Some also noted that Fred had access to his home and cell phone, which he could have used had there been any distress, but he never did, drawing a parallel to Thomas Messick not using his walkie-talkie, even though he had access to it. This suggested to investigators that both cases involved an element of surprise. On top of this, the two men disappeared just over a week apart, relatively close to one another. Many believe these two cases had to be somehow related, and the culprit FBI was searching for during the Thomas Messick investigation may have been responsible for the disappearance of Fred Drum as well.
40
While
miles
the
is
FBI
like
could
an hour away.
potentially have been investigating something more
It's not far.
nefarious, such as foul play, there are too many holes.
I'd want to know
this
more.
theory.
Like, was Fred in the military? What branch was he in? Did he know Thomas?
Right.
Did they have some kind of connection? There's got to be something that links the two of them. Because I just feel like the likelihood of two elderly men going missing in the same exact way, 40 miles apart,
Yeah.
to me, that just seems,
It's very coincidental.
yeah,
Very.
it seems suspicious, though.
Mm-hmm.
There were no signs of a struggle in the area where Thomas vanished, and given that he was a highly trained marksman who was armed at the time, it's unlikely he would have gone down without one. But there were no boot prints, or any sign of another person being at or anywhere near his post. While some point out that Thomas couldn't see out of one eye and had limited use of one of his hands, these ailments didn't cause any problems for him during his day-to-day activities.
Yeah, I
He
bet.
learned
Clearly
to
didn't
live with
stop
these
from
issues
hunting
and
either.
always made an effort to be more aware of his surroundings because of them, making it very unlikely that someone could have snuck up on him. Also, someone in his group surely would have heard if there had been a struggle, because they were within shouting distance and that area of the woods is very silent. Even if someone had gotten to Thomas, there is no way they could have possibly disposed of him in the short time frame between the start of the hunt to when his crew members noticed him missing, which was less than 2 hours. There
That's
were no
why I
tire
think
tracks of any
somebody
sort
else has
or
something
any
to do with it.
unfamiliar vehicles
Yeah.
in the area, and there was only one road leading into the spot they were at, meaning the other hunters would have surely heard a car coming in and leaving, which they never reported. The fact that nothing of his was ever discovered
can't wait for
suggests
fall.
he was removed from the area. But how could someone have possibly
You got a
gotten
while.
rid of all the evidence, including Thomas's remains, the large rifle he was carrying,
4
and
months.
his belongings, all in a short amount of time, with no vehicle, while being mere yards away from the other members of his hunting party, completely
We should get fall now.
undetected?
I know.
There was an interesting development in the case when, during an interview, Thomas's longtime friend and hunting partner, Sid Sharp, mentioned an extremely bizarre metallic noise he heard in the forest, around 150 yards away from Thomas on the day of his disappearance. Despite his 5 decades of hunting experience, Sid told investigators that this was a sound he's never heard before in his life, saying, quote, "It'd be hard to explain, but it was different. Something different that I never heard before in the woods. I just can't say what it was, you know?" Many, including Sid, speculate that these two events had to be connected, because it's too coincidental that an expert hunter heard something he's never heard before in the forest on the same day he experienced something he's never experienced before in the forest, which was the bizarre disappearance of his friend. Strange phenomena like lights in the sky or unknown sounds are frequently reported in national park disappearances, and some believe these may offer an explanation as to what might be happening in these cases. What they are, though, is yet to be explained. Thomas
Interesting.
Messick's disappearance puzzles investigators to this day, as there is simply no logical explanation to it, and every theory leads to more questions than answers. If he was meant to stay put at his post that day, why would he have left it? If he did leave his post, where could he have gone? And why not alert his group with his walkie-talkie? How far out could he really have gotten
What if
by
it was an
himself?
inside thing, but his friends have something to do with it?
Mm,
Because that would give the opportunity to be like, yeah, we don't, nothing, we have no
right.
idea.
Right.
Because now with the additure of the other guy disappearing in the same way, it just makes me think that there's something bigger happening.
And then the FBI gets involved.
But
Like,
yeah, and they're not
that's weird.
doing, they're not going by protocol and what they're supposed to do.
It makes me think classified
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
information kind of thing.
But I would almost bet that a lot of his friends, if not all of them, are probably all ex-military. That's
Mm,
just usually how it is.
right.
So maybe other people are in on it,
Maybe.
and that's why his body can't be found. I don't know.
Maybe.
Interesting.
At his
Nobody
age, had he
knows.
suffered some sort of sudden fatal incident or succumbed to the elements, how come his body was never recovered? And finally, if foul play was involved, what would be the motive? And how could someone have disposed of him completely undetected without a vehicle? While the full truth may never
His
be
Bigfoot.
revealed to us, someone out there knows something.
Somebody knows something. Another great podcast, by the way. It's like Canadian.
I've never listened.
It's a good podcast. It's about missing people.
Oh, I'd like that.
I know. Oh, this old story. Maybe it's a disc. Dish. I don't know. I don't know how to say it.
On May 8th,
Space
1965,
Yeti.
a 26-year-old ionospheric physicist
Space
by the name
cryptids.
Carl
Oh, boy.
Robert Dish
Good
would
times.
vanish near
Dish,
Bird
I was
Station
right. It is
in
Dish.
Antarctica, where he
Yeah,
was
good
working on
times.
radio systems
Terrible
for
people.
the National
Mm.
Bureau of Standards and Technology. While it might not sound so far-fetched for someone to go missing in a place as inhospitable as Antarctica, his disappearance was as bizarre as they come. At 9:15 that morning, Dish was supposed to be making his way back from the radio noise building he was working at
Polar
to
bear.
the propagation laboratory,
Mm.
which was the main station in the complex. For his job, he regularly had to travel the very short distance between these buildings, which was just over a mile, and had done so dozens of times previously. The two structures were connected by a hand line, which is a length of rope
Just
used
hit
to
me.
help
Oh, it
researchers
came out of nowhere.
navigate from one building to the other when visibility is poor due to weather. He was very familiar with this trip, as he had to make it multiple times weekly, and it should have taken him no more than 20 minutes. On this day, however, the clock hit 10 and Dish had still not reached his destination. Concerned, his colleagues decided to assemble a vehicle search party and go out looking for him along his intended route. They found no sign of Dish, but at around 11:30, they discovered a set of footprints over by the radio noise building. This is where his crew encountered their first mystery. Instead of leading south along the hand line as was expected, the footprints went west towards the landing strip where supplies were flown in. It was as if something inspired Dish to change course last second and go another direction. His colleagues followed these footsteps for 4 miles, at which point they abruptly stopped. The crew had to go back to camp and refuel. Other than going the wrong direction, there was something interesting about the footsteps themselves. His colleagues originally speculated that he got lost and went the wrong way, as this would be your first assumption in such a case. However, judging by the spacing between his footprints, his pace was very steady and his steps were consistent, as if he had a clear direction in mind. These weren't the footsteps of someone who was disoriented. They were clearly purposeful. Dish's colleagues knew that he would not have simply walked 4 miles in a straight line going at a steady pace if he was truly lost, so they logically deduced that he must have been walking towards something. It's unclear, however, what exactly it may have been, as nothing was being flown in that day at the landing strip, and there were no unfamiliar boot prints or tire tracks. It was very uncharacteristic of Dish to break protocol the way he did, which means whatever he saw must have intrigued him greatly.
Polar bear.
After refueling, the team would head back out towards the landing strip and continue the search for another 3 hours. They didn't manage to find any sign of Dish, and by this point, the snow was beginning to cover up his tracks. At 7 p.m. that evening, another team was sent out to conduct an extensive search of the supply line, the emergency Jamesway hut.
That's a
and the
problem
fuel
too,
pump
right? Is
area.
like, oh, let me pause that. Is if, like, say he just, I don't know, died somewhere, or a polar bear grabbed him. I don't know, something. And you can't tell exactly like when it happened. His body could be completely under snow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is Antarctica.
It's like instant cover up, basically,
Yeah, this isn't.
of anything,
It's not
really.
Minnesota. It's freaking Antarctica.
Yeah.
Although it
It's
could probably
scary.
happen in Minnesota too.
Yeah, probably.
But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I would want to, when it comes to stuff like this, it's hard because like I would want to see the actual footprints,
Right.
like not just B-roll from something else, like the actual footprints. How deep were they? How much snow did you get?
Hmm.
Were there wildlife footprints around? Stuff like that. Like, I don't. It makes it hard to come up with like your own opinion because you're not there.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know. But his body could be covered in snow.
Avail. An hour later, all able hands were gathered to form a human chain in order to search from main base all the way down to the landing strip where Dish's steps had disappeared. The floodlights were also turned on all over the station, and flares were fired every 30 minutes to attract him to the area. This continued until visibility became too low for the flares to be effective. The following day, on May 9th, yet another vehicle search party was assembled, which covered a 1-mile wide by 9-mile long area spanning from the base to the landing strip and beyond. They managed to relocate occasional undisturbed tracks which were previously discovered. However, they too lost the trail when the steps seemed to suddenly stop 4 miles southwest of the radio noise building. At 7:40 a.m. on the morning of May 10th, now a significant amount of time after Dish's disappearance, an 8-man search team departed the station to look for him as a last-ditch effort, equipped with 2 vehicles, an emergency hut, and enough fuel as well as provisions to last a week. The search began at the main complex, moving in a southerly direction while making sweeps towards
then
the
you wouldn't
east
see
and
it.
west to cover the most amount of area possible. They went on for 12 miles, marking their path with flags as to not check the same area twice. Still, no more tracks, and no sign of Dish. On the 12th of May, the team conducted a search of the northeast and southeast sectors of Bird Station, in case something was missed. More searches were planned in the 2 days following. However, weather conditions made this impossible. By the 14th, a huge area of 35 square miles had been searched in the vicinity. Despite this, Carl Robert Dish was never seen again, and he was presumed dead in the following weeks.
He's definitely dead.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
Antarctica.
To
You
remind
can't
you
get
that
lost in
60% of
Antarctica.
sales on Amazon
That's
come from independent sellers.
a
Tracy from Willie's.
grand search effort on their part.
I think it's by the time that they went out on these long expeditions to find him, there had already been plenty enough time for him to just be under a bank of snow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like when you go to Antarctica, like if you get lost, that's it.
Hmm.
You're done.
I feel like delusion and, confusion will set in quite quickly.
And his picture looked like from a while ago. So
Yeah.
were they drinking out there at all?
Probably.
Because what if he got a little tipsy and he walked with purpose because he really thought he knew where he was going and he ended up in the wrong direction and
Yeah.
couldn't find his way back.
Scary.
Yeah, very scary. But
So
I
scary.
feel like out of all the stories, this one is probably the easiest one to assume you kind of know what happened.
Hmm.
While it's not unheard of for people to go missing in areas with extreme weather conditions, there are many facets of this case that just don't make sense. The prevailing theory is that low visibility mixed with unpredictable weather conditions disoriented Dish and caused him to veer off his intended path. This theory, however, doesn't hold up for multiple reasons. He had made the journey between the two buildings dozens of times and was intimately familiar with the compound. What could have possibly gone differently this time for Dish to become so disoriented he would go the wrong direction, despite this being a short, routine trip? Even with very low visibility, it would be impossible to miss the handline, as it was right at the bottom of the ladder that takes you into the radio noise building, and you would see it immediately upon reaching the ground. If he did somehow miss the handline, however, this still wouldn't explain why he would walk in a straight line at a steady pace for miles. Had he been lost, it would be very easy to tell in his footprints, as they would be far more irregular. The footprints he left behind clearly indicated he was walking towards something with a goal in mind. This is further proven by the fact that his footprints were still visible an hour and a half after his colleagues first noticed him missing. If they could clearly see Dish's prints that long after him leaving the area, then what could have possibly stopped him from simply tracing them back to the radio noise building if he was disoriented, just as his crew did? To many, this is a telltale sign he wasn't walking pointlessly. He had an objective. This begs the question, however. If it's true that Dish was walking towards something as his footsteps suggested, what could it have been? The anomalies surrounding the case, along with the lack of any concrete evidence, has led many to speculate that Carl Robert Dish was taken. While this theory may be far out there to some, many are convinced it's a possibility due to the abrupt cutoff of Dish's footsteps 4 miles out from the radio noise building. Although skeptics argue that the rest of his prints were covered with fresh snow, and that's why the trail seemed to abruptly end, this wouldn't make sense given the context. How is it possible that the first 4 miles of his trail was clearly visible, even an hour and a half after he disappeared?
It's the same way it can rain in one area and up the street it's not raining.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
There was no thought put into that statement, I feel like. Yeah. We've seen...
Anyways.
But the rest was somehow covered up completely, as if it only snowed past the 4-mile mark. This gave rise to the idea that the only possible way his prints could have stopped in such a fashion
is if he was abducted by aliens.
Was lifted off the ground. While far-fetched, proponents of this theory also claim it fits perfectly with the story, suggesting that after radioing his colleagues he would be heading back to the main complex.
Or what if where his footprints were, maybe his body was under the snow?
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe that's where his body is. Did they dig everything out around there?
Probably not.
Dish saw a craft at the landing.
Took me 2 seconds.
And decided to investigate, which is why he decided to change course last second. Once he got close to it, he was taken. And that's why his footprints went in a straight line at a steady pace before abruptly ending. This theory might also explain what the crew experienced while looking for Dish. It's claimed by multiple sources that during the search for Dish, as well as in the following months, there was a wave of bizarre activity around Bird Station, mostly involving strange lights in the sky for which a source could not be found, and bizarre noises off in the distance. Given that Antarctica is uninhabited and Bird Station was the only research center for hundreds of miles, one has to wonder what could have possibly been producing these bizarre sightings and sounds. What's also interesting about the days following Dish's disappearance, other than the anomalous activity surrounding Bird Station, was the disappearance of his dog, a husky named Gus. The crew speculated that Gus might have caught Dish's scent and went out looking for him, only to encounter the same fate he did, whatever it may have been.
Yeah, maybe it was his body in the snow.
Protect your family's dreams.
So he hunkered down with him and froze to death.
Insurance.
I start nursing school in September, and before I sent off my application, I ran
what I'm saying,
I graduated.
I feel like it's not far-fetched to think that.
No.
Even though the abduction theory could possibly explain the anomalies surrounding this case, many just can't subscribe to such an outlandish idea and instead propose more rational explanations, albeit none of them hold much weight once you look into the facts. One theory is that Dish may have suffered a mental breakdown, as it's rumored that he had been cheated during a card game just moments before leaving the building. Already suffering from the isolated conditions, many believe this could have been the last straw which made him walk out into the wilderness with no intention of ever coming back. But why would Dish do something like this? He was a young and brilliant scientist who was highly trained for Arctic living. The thought of him doing something so drastic over something so simple, such as a card game, just doesn't make sense for someone of his caliber. It also wouldn't explain the abrupt ending of his footprints,
I don't
or
know.
where he could have
Geniuses are
possibly
weird.
ended up for no one to find him. An alternate theory states that Dish could potentially have been extracted from Bird Station by the Soviet government using a helicopter, as he may have been an undercover operative for them. After all, this was
Could
during
be.
the height of the Cold War, and a man with Dish's skill set would have proven extremely beneficial to the Soviet Union, especially in the position he was in,
I
collecting
mean, that
data
stuff
for
did
a
happen.
major American institution. At the time, there were many stories of scientists going missing under suspicious circumstances, and there was speculation that these were Soviet agents who were extracted after completing their mission. Some believe Dish could have been one of these scientists who were working undercover for the Soviets. This theory could also explain what he was walking towards, and why his footsteps abruptly stopped, as the gust of air from the helicopter propellers could have moved the snow around and covered up the prints.
I think we should
But
have let
this
in with
theory,
this
too,
theory
isn't
before the
without its
aliens.
faults.
Yep.
Bird Station is over 400 miles away from the nearest coastline, and even farther from the nearest complex. Therefore, it would simply be impossible for such a distance to be covered by air, unless the Soviets had a secret base installed nearby that we are unaware of to this day. It's also unlikely a
probably.
helicopter could have gotten so close to the base without at least someone noticing.
It was like a mile away.
Yeah. And in conditions, they said. So,
Bruh, what do you mean you'd notice? You're inside, a mile away. The wind's whipping. I don't think you would have noticed.
I don't think so either. I don't think so, Scooter.
This last one sucks.
56 years later, we are still no closer to solving the case of Carl
That's
Robert
because he's
Dish than we were on May 8th,
in Soviet
1965.
Russia
Although
somewhere.
at first it did seem like an
Well,
open and shut
what was
case
Soviet
of a
Russia?
man who simply got disorientated during
Is it
bad
Soviet?
weather and
No, it's not
succumbed to
Soviet.
the
They're trying to
elements.
make it
Once
Soviet.
you actually explore the facts, you quickly realize that something out of the ordinary happened here. And although we may never know what it is, this case is a stark reminder that sometimes the simple explanation just doesn't work.
I miss the
While we
snow.
may never know
And
what happened to
sometimes the simple explanation does work.
the individuals covered in this video, we can only hope that one day their families will have closure.
I feel like there are reasonable explanations for a lot of these, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know. Put it down in the comment section. I have no idea. But
I don't know. I feel like there's many explanations for all of those cases, but I think a lot of comments and ideas are put in there that are put out as fact,
because it's
and
always
nobody knows. So
it's popular to have the conspiracy,
I don't know.
idea now.
I don't know.
I think there's very likely an explanation. I mean, some of them are probably darker than others, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
the old guys. I feel like there's something
Something going on there.
going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
But the other people, something dark probably happened to the younger guy too. I don't believe he would never ever like
I don't either.
he probably got snatched up.
Yeah.
But so yeah, just let us know what you guys think, and appreciate y'all for being here.
Yeah. Well, it was the first one of my picks
Yeah, and
for the
tomorrow
week.
will be another one of Megan's picks.
Yeah. At random. I didn't watch anything. I was just like, oh, this looks
That's
interesting.
fine
There
because
you
I never actually like look for videos. We come down here and I'm just like, what are we gonna watch? And then I just look for something. So I don't know. I feel like it's better than like pre-watching something, so that way we're all watching it together
Oh,
for the first
absolutely.
time. That's
We're all
why I do
watching
it.
together.
Unless you guys want us to screen them, and I feel like that's weird.
It is weird, except we're watching 30 seconds in the future. So
Yeah, I guess technically we are seeing it first.
we
But
win.
keep it real, everybody, and we will, I guess, catch y'all on the next one tomorrow. Probably much earlier.
Yes, definitely much earlier.
Say goodbye.